You know what day it is. Escoffier day. There will probably be a lot of farming. I didn't prepare at all for her. These 0 of 2, we need so many barrel conches as well. We do have a new boss over here we will need to farm, so I'm just gonna try like flying there though, and we'll see if that works. I assume there's some quest or something to get over there, but let's just try it the good new fashioned way. Didn't even touch the water. Not sure what's going on with this boss right now, so we're just gonna get my newly triple crowned Varissa team. I mean, the boss is trying to do stuff, but it doesn't really matter. And we got a 4-drop, very cool. Can we 90 her yet? I mean, there's the 2nd star. What about the 3rd star though? Nope. Okay, I think we're good. Oh my god, these are so annoying to farm. There's a lot of them, which is good, but it actually took an hour. And I don't think like I got lost that many times looking for them. There's the 4th star, level 70, 5th star, level 80. Well, I thought we counted properly. All right, that should do it. We do have to head to the crafting station for the rest of the cryo chunks, but then we're actually done. Didn't even mention that she has a crit rate ascension. I mean, you know, you could see it there, but always a nice stat to have. And at level 90. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so bad. Thank God we have the function thing. We must have needed barrel conches for some other character, and I assume that was way more miserable having to use an interactive map. Lastly, we gotta raise her talents. I do think her skill is the most important. We're gonna cover all that in the talent to Constellation review, but for the time being, why do we have 247 of those? Insane. We have enough books. There's that at least. We should be able to get burst to 8 as well. I do think this is definitely 2nd priority. From what I can tell, you mainly raise the burst for its, you know, extra healing. The multiplier is big, but it's once per rotation versus her skill that's going to be spamming attacks constantly. So getting them both up to 8 isn't to say they're equal. I do think skill is way more important, but I also think burst is a worthy skill to raise, unlike a normal attack. But all right, now that she's raised, time to do the good old talent to Constellation overview. This will be a rather short one, as Escoffier is a pretty simple character. Her normal attacks are unimportant, as usual for off-field units, so we're just gonna skip over that. Her elemental skill is the core of her kit. Upon tapping it, she'll summon a cloche that deals cryo damage. It persists when she leaves the field and follows the active character. Its attack rate looks pretty fast. I'll time it and have that on screen now. It has a bit of AoE on it as well, though not massive. It applies the standard 1 gauge unit of cryo, and with a duration of 20 seconds and a cooldown of 15 seconds, easily 100% uptime. The hold mode of this skill summons a larger cloche, which you can attack to produce food. I've used my stream footage for this, as it has a 10 food cap per week, which I was a bit sad to learn. The food she does produce is quite good though. Moving on to her burst, while it's very simple, it's also very good. It does damage with a pretty huge multiplier, but much more importantly, it's an incredibly strong team-wide heal. Not only does it scale quite well with her attack, 275% plus over 2000 at talent level 8, it's fast too. Correction here, it took me way too long to figure out this is 1 instance of heal, this 275% plus 2000. I'm just not used to that, because all the recent burst-tied team-wide healers heal over time and not just 1 instance of it like, you know, the older characters, Jean and Barbara. But yeah, it's 1 heal. It is still a very strong heal, but once. The additional numbers popping up we'll talk about later, that is one of her passives. It has a pretty standard energy cost of 60 with a cooldown of 15 seconds. Until now, she's mostly just a great team-wide healer and off-field damage dealer. Her main passive ups her to an incredible support, with a caveat. This support is basically only for freeze teams. When you have only hydros and cryos in your team, and when her skill or burst deals damage, it reduces the enemy's res to those elements by a massive 55%. Any other element in your team though, and that drops to a pretty sad 15%. Her other passive is an additional extra heal after burst, but only to the on-field character. It's also very fast at once per second, but there's no bonus flat heal, and the multiplier is quite a bit lower. Still solid, but I don't think it's that necessary with the context of her insane burst healing already. Again, post-recording Mocha here. Because her burst is a single instance of healing, the passive healing is actually pretty good. And even knowing that it's a single instance of healing, I do still think she's a good healer, just not as broken as I originally thought. So yeah, in a nutshell, she's an incredible support for freeze teams. Great heals, the highest res shred from a single source, as far as I remember, maybe I'm forgetting someone, and solid sub DPS. Moving on to Constellations, it's clear to see she's meant to buff Cryo DPSs specifically. At C0, there's no bias, as her main utility is reducing res of both elements. Starting at C1, she specifically buffs the crit damage of Cryo units by an impressive 60%. It still has the full Hydro Cryo team requirement, but you should be running that anyway. This buff is triggered by using skill or burst with a 15-second duration, so it should be pretty easy to keep it active. C2 is where things get spicy. In a nutshell, it's very similar to Shinha. An additive damage increase based on 240% of her attack. Without getting into the nitty gritty, that is a massive buff. Shinha's was already impressive, and hers is like less than a third of this multiplier. It only lasts for 5 damage instances every skill cast, but thankfully Escoffier herself doesn't use them up. C3 and C5 I don't think will be that impactful as a whole. C3 of course better overall, because her skill is the biggest part of her personal damage, but yeah, I think her most important thing is the res shred, and that obviously doesn't get changed with talent levels. C4 is a buff to her single target healing passive. Compared to the first two cons, again, this doesn't seem that great. Up to 14 extra energy per rotation for her though, so you'd probably need very little energy recharge, if any, at C4. Always depends on the team and how many other cryos you have, but you'll need a lot less energy at C4. C6 sounds good, as usual. After skill, her Cloche unleashes up to 6 extra attacks, each with a 500% multiplier, combining to a crazy 3000% multiplier, or well over twice her burst damage at level 13. Personally though, having to go through C3, 4, and 5 to get to C6 doesn't sound that worth it to me, so the highest I'd go with her is C2. And if you run a Hydro DPS, I wouldn't even go past C0. Apparently, Skirk is coming soon and is a Cryo DPS, but I don't follow leaks. In this case, it's probably worth thinking about though, as she'd be a very relevant character for Escoffier. Moving on to build, for raising modes, I like to stick with a 4-star weapon. I'd say anything with a decent amount of attack on it would be fine, as that's what her healing and obviously damage scales with. Weapon choice is mostly going to come down to what you personally want out of your Escoffier, if you want, you know, maximum personal damage or just focusing on healing and res shredding and, you know, all the support stuff she can do. Ultimately, the goal would be everything, have enough attack and energy recharge to not worry about that, and then, you know, spend the rest in crit stats. But how well you can manage that depends on what you have. Like, if you have a signature weapon, it's going to be a lot easier to do that with, you know, its high base attack, more attack in the passive, crit damage. I try not to equip event weapons because, you know, everyone starts playing at a different time. Maybe they missed this one, they can't get it again. But of the ones I have raised for today, I would go deathmatch, but it's not free to play, it's battle pass. So I guess we're sticking with Missive Wind Spear. I do want to see at least a little bit of her damage potential. We will like focus more on that probably for the God mode when we can give her her signature, of course. But for today, I would say we're more focused on her support while not totally neglecting her damage. Else we'd just go Favonius because it has energy recharge and, you know, produces particles. For artifacts, there are a couple of interesting sets actually. I was just going to give her Golden Troop and call it a day, but I almost kind of forgot about Blizzard Strayer. Like, she is pretty much only going to be in a freeze team, but there are still a couple of problems with it. Not all enemies can be frozen, so sometimes you're not even getting the 20% here. And secondly, with the enemies that can be frozen, and assuming you're also getting cryo resonance, you're gonna have like way too much crit rate, especially because she gets crit rate on Ascension. I actually just realized while we're right here, Tenacity I think wouldn't be bad either. 20% attack for 3 seconds, you know, every time elemental skill hits. But, you know, her thing has easily 100% uptime. Definitely worth a consideration, but for now, we're just going to go Golden Troop, indeed. Gonna try to not steal any pieces from Farina, but besides that, I'm just going to have a focus on ER and attack mainly, but, you know, crit stats would be a bonus as well, like this one with all of its ER and attack. Okay, this will be our crit piece. All my plumes are garbage. Let me see if we should raise one. We'll check 4th sub here. High crit rate, there's attack. ER, and I'll max it immediately. Boom. Oh, in before it all goes to HP, but sure, let's one-shot it. Ta-da. Oh, no, nothing into HP. Damn, I'll take it. Sands, I think since we are going an attack weapon and not an ER weapon, we might want to go ER to be on the safe side. We have no raised ER pieces, so let's check Goblet first. We might have a Cryo Goblet, although with Golden Troop, because we have, you know, just damage percent bonuses here, and we'll have Farina, most likely. I think Attack Goblet would definitely work as well. But if, I mean, we do have a pretty sick Cryo Goblet. You know, it does have attack there, but a lot of crit damage as well. And actually, we don't even have an Attack Goblet. So yeah, indeed, let's go this Cryo damage. We might be a little low on crit rate, so we probably go crit rate Circlet. We only have 1 raised. It doesn't look horrible. 8 attack, 20 crit damage. Before we decide on the Sands if we're going ER or attack, let's check what she's currently at. 112. Yes, I think we have to go ER Sands. That's probably too low. We will check first to see if we have an attack one with a ton of ER on it, like at least 25%. Highest is 18. I could steal this one from Razor. 16.8. We'll see if we can get away with it. I would like to give her unattacked sands. Looking at the stats, we are at 2200 attack, so What about crit? 83 to 118. Okay, maybe we should go crit damage circlet, actually. And then we have cryo resonance, so definitely crit damage here. Our crit damage circlets are also pretty bad. I will check if we have any unraised. Nope, they're all bad. We'll just go with this one for now, I guess. Has some attack, 10 crit right there. It's okay. That definitely looks better. 62 is a little low, but you have to remember we are gonna be in cryo resonance, most likely. We'll probably throw Seat Lolly or Shinha in our team. 15%, so yeah, nearly 80, making the, crit ratio pretty good. But for now, I think she's not bad for, a free-to-play Escoffier. Talking about teams, there's not much to say. I would say Farina and Escoffier go very, very well together. So, I think most people have Farina. She's very, meta. Besides that, I wanted to start with something for me personally, kind of. I did want to try this team first. Neuvillette is our main DPS. At C0, it doesn't really matter if it's Cryo or Hydro as your DPS. She's reducing both res. The one issue with this team is that we're only doing freeze. So Neuvillette's like Draconic stacks, whatever the hell they're called, we're not maxing those. Whereas with this team, we are maxing that passive because we got, at least 2 different reactions and my Neuvillette's not C0. I do assume Neuvillette will deal more damage in this team, but if it's anywhere close in this team, I think it would be, debatable which one's better because we have very little healing in this team, basically single target from Zealonin, and we have Farina here eating the HP of the whole team. So after the first rotation, or not even when that's over, most of the guys are like, half dead, and then Farina's pets stop doing, their max damage. Whereas here we have lots of good team-wide healing from Escoffier, a shield from Seat Lolly, so much more survivable overall. So I don't think it's fair to just look at the raw numbers, but that's kind of what we're going to start with. On good old Dorito boss, of course. All right, here we go. Boom. So we're doing like 147 ticks there on Dorito boss. I mean, he died very, very fast. And usually in between that, I have to sit here and heal all my characters because no one else is doing it. I mean, we could use Zealonin's burst and that would definitely help, but that's animation time I usually don't want to use. Although I guess we'd have to use Escoffier's burst. So many little nuances like that is exhausting to try and consider, but it is what it is. We'll do one more run to make sure, everything is mostly consistent. Another little thing I just realized is we probably will have more fanfare stacks in the other team. There was another 147 there from Neuvillette. Although I think we were at max fanfare. She scales it up very fast with Neuvillette because he's like eating and regaining his own HP very fast. Since we are doing a comparison, it's important to mention we are running a 4-piece Cinder on Zealonin, 4-piece Viridescent on Kazuha. Both of them are C2 as well. So we are getting a pretty big max HP buff for our Neuvillette, which also increases his damage. We're not doing Kazuha's burst because that gives us EM, which is not important really in either situation. Kazuha has Freedom Sworn, which helps a bit, I guess. 16% damage buff there. Zealonin has Peak Patrol Song, giving us another bonus. Escoffier's signature only gives attack percent, which Neuvillette doesn't scale with, so it doesn't really matter, we're not wearing it. Also, Constellations wouldn't help Neuvillette. Seat Lolly, however, is also C2 and reduces the Hydro Res Shred by 20%. So overall Res Shred is actually higher in this team, mainly due to, Escoffier's massive 55%. For this test, we don't need to do Escoffier's burst, though I probably would in most cases, but I guess we won't, just to keep the rotation time similar. So here we go. We're actually not gonna do Seat Lolly's burst either. I'm not sure we really need to. Okay, that actually felt way shorter though. Yeah, we're getting a 10, that's a lot less. I probably may have done something wrong. That seems way too much less. Could it really be the missing stack here? That's probably something for sure. Oh, okay, I forgot about this. At C2, Neuvillette gets, extra crit damage also per stack, which we're missing. It's okay, yeah. Now that we got all fanfare, perhaps it went back up to that 104. I'm surprised that's so much worse. I kind of want to do a run, like not even using Escoffier, just like skipping past her and seeing what our damage is. Maybe I'm just really messing something up. I mean, no, it is less, like 80 to 85k. I mean, Dorito Boss only has the standard 10% res to Hydro, and anything under 0 is like half as effective. So I guess right now when, the main thing she's doing is res reduction, it's not impacting that heavily, although 20k extra damage per beam tick is definitely not nothing. Right, there is something. We need to put Seat Lolly in Cinder City. If I were to actually run this team, she would be in Cinder City, so I think it's fair. She's only in Tenacity of the Millelith because I often run her with Zealonin, which already has Cinder City, but it would be a worthwhile thing to switch her into. Obviously, that's not going to buff our damage by 40k per tick, but it should get us closer. We'll see. Yeah, like 110? That really didn't do that much. Yeah, Neuvillette does suffer quite a bit. Cinder helped, but yeah, it's still pretty far away from my Zelonin Kazuha Neuvillette team. But yeah, everyone's situation is different. Like if I only had C1 Neuvillette, for example, and if I didn't have C2 Zelonin, then I think the difference would be much smaller. But yeah, for me, the, you know, healing and survivability that these two bring doesn't justify the big damage loss. We should at least try a Cryo DPS, and Ayaka here seems to be the go-to, so I'm going to use Risley, just because I know he's probably better in like Burn Melt or whatever, but sure. Seal Ollie, of course, a little less good because she doesn't reduce Cryo Res. Would help Farina's personal damage a little bit, but I guess we can just do this. But I guess just thinking about her as a healer sub DPS Cryo applicator, ignoring the Res Shred and taking other elements, is something to at least think about. Shinha, I think, would be pretty interesting. We do have triple cryo here, which, Farina gets enough HP from her C2. Shinha just needs a bunch of attack, right? I don't want to make this a big section. She already has Calamity, cool. My Shinha is, oh, she's C1? Risley's also C1. I'm not really going to be comparing any teams anymore. I'm just going to kind of, you know, see what happens. I think Shinha actually needs to come right before Risley, so need to change that next time. Should do her burst, and I think we just tap it for her and do burst. Then we'll go to Risley, and boom, boom, boom. Almost like one punch combo there. Killed him. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I know Farina did, you know, some of that damage. I haven't really been looking at Escoffier's damage, so maybe want to, you know, check that out too. This time we definitely will try to do Escoffier's burst because, you know, we're already half dead. I'm going to try and get away with not sitting there and healing everyone before the fight this time, but also Farina kind of needs energy, so we'll see if we can do that real quick. This is already scuffed. All right, there's burst. Escoffier, I'm just going to wait for the particles. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Everyone's full health again. Gonna tap that, hopefully get Shinha's burst pretty soon. Well, we do have an extra skill cast, which I think could be better used. Okay, like dude's already dead before Risley comes out. Okay, that was super bad. That was super bad. I'm just gonna farm energy before going in. No, I always mix that up. We need to hold it for the normal charge plunging attack damage to be increased. So we are gonna do E burst, even though we don't really need healing right now, but so hold, there we go. And we're gonna do our burst, then go to Risley. Yeah, the dude's like half dead before I even... Okay, but his normal punches were doing 33k. That's pretty good. We didn't even see the charge attack, which is his big attack. Oh my god, Farina, stop. I think... Well, actually, Escoffier, we didn't even look at her personal damage. Maybe it's really impressive also. So we're gonna put her pot down and swap off field. Actually, we're gonna do a tap and hold. 36? Okay, wait, she's doing a lot of damage, actually. She's like 40k damage. That's actually pretty good. And those attacks are happening pretty fast. Okay, wait, that's way more than I expected. It did feel weird that before I could even get Risley on the field, the Dorito boss was almost dead. Let's take a look on Masanori here. We're just going to do Farina E-Burst and Escoffier and swap her off field, of course, for Golden Troop. That was doing less than Dorito Boss. Yeah, of course, we had the additive damage bonus from Shinha for those. But yeah, I don't know. They probably should have been going to Risley instead because it is only like 5 or 7 hits depending on if you tap or hold. So still solid. 40k was definitely more impressive than I was expecting. And that's because she was eating Shinha's, you know, additive stacks. Yeah, I always forget these guys eat my energy and it's super annoying. So we're just going to not do Farina Burst this rotation and probably no one else's Burst either. We're just going to... Oh wait, well these guys can be frozen. That's pretty cool. Okay, we kind of need Escoffier's burst. Risley died, so let's revive and do her burst, and he should be like pretty decently healthy there. Yeah. Okay, now we're gonna do Farina burst. I think we actually start the rotation now. We'll do a tap and a hold, I guess. Sure, we have like both. We have 2 charges, and then here we go. Boom. But yeah, wait, no, her thing was still doing 40k. Well, yeah, I guess Risley just died immediately, so we still had the additive stacks from Shinha. Can I just look at the AoE real quick? I don't care about the damage right now. Yeah, okay. They have to be really close. It has a very small AoE. There are sometimes it's hitting 2, but not often. And they're like all pretty close together, you know? For all intents and purposes, I would say it's single target. But yeah, for now, I'm not really sure what else to look at. Again, she is a pretty simple character tied to freeze teams, essentially, if you want to maximize her utility. Again, you know, giving up on most of the res shred and trying different elements is something we could, you know, consider perhaps for God mode. Although she'll have constellations and she's even more tied into, you know, buffing a cryo DPS then. But yeah, even with the context that, you know, she was using Shinha's stacks, her sub DPS is pretty solid actually. Very solid, especially because it's basically infinite, you know, 20-second duration, 15-second cooldown. It will never not be firing attacks. So that's pretty good. And applying cryo. So yeah, using her as a cryo applicator, definitely something we can think about for the future. For now though, that'll do it. Let me know what you think about the video or Escoffier in the comments down below. Dropping a like or subscribing to the channel if you enjoy is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time.